Gentlemen, there is an item that we have to deal with first of all because of the absence of the normal chair of this meeting, who was of course Councillor Asjad. So the Constitution requires that the meeting then elects a chairman for this particular meeting. So I invite nominations and secondings of potential candidates for that role.
Oppose Councillor Whip, please.
Second that.
All those in favour of Councillor Whip as chair of this meeting? Thank you. Carried.
Thank you very much, Howard. Can we do very quick introductions around the room? So my name is David Whip and I'm Deputy Leader of Pendle Council and Leader of the Liberal Democrat Group. If I go to my left.
Thank you. Rose Rouse, Chief Executive.
Damon Lawrenson, Interim Director of Resources.
Councillor Dorothy Lord from Waterside and Horsefield, and also lead on community safety.
Councillor Tom Whip, I'm a councillor for Barnoldswick Ward. I'm also the Planning and Regulatory Services portfolio holder.
Ishqal Bukhari, Head of Economic Growth.
Thank you.
Councillor Hanif from Byfield, lead for leisure services.
Councillor Mohammed Iqbal, Bradley Ward, and I'm a sub for this meeting.
I'm Neil Watson, I'm Assistant Director for Planning, Building Control and Regulatory Services.
Jane Watson, Democratic Services Manager.
Howard Culshaw, Head of Legal and Democratic Services and Monitoring Officer.
Thank you very much. We are expecting at least one other member. With it being Ramadan, people have broken the fast, and that's very recent, and then people wanting to go to prayers. So if somebody comes in, it's Zafar.
It is.
Yep. Thank you very much. We've got a couple of procedural items that we need to deal with, and then I've got Michael Hackett who wants to speak on item number 10, and I'm going to bring that forward once we've dealt with the... Yeah, okay. But you're very welcome to stop for the whole meeting if you wish. Right. Item 1 is declarations of interest. Are there any items where people have a prejudicial pecuniary interest? Nope. Item 2, public question time. This is an opportunity for any members of the public to raise issues that aren't otherwise on the agenda. Nope. Item 3, the minutes of the last meeting. Will somebody move those as a correct record, please? Thank you, Aneve. Tom? Right. Do we actually physically sign them?
Yes.
Jane? Thank you. And we will now go on to item 10, having leapfrogged all the rest of them. Michael, if you want to come forward or speak from there, depending on how well you project.
I'm not very well, I'm not used to talking like this, so...
You can sit down if you wish.
No, I'm alright, it's only a little bit to say. So, good evening, myself and my wife have put an offer in for Cemetery Lodge. We wanted to come to tonight's meeting to show our interest and commitment in the property. I am aware an offer in excess of £4,000 to our offer has been submitted. However, we would like to point out that ours is a cash offer, and we would now put our funds into place. I spoke with Howell yesterday, who was happy to confirm this to yourselves. As residents of Cong for most of our lives, we have a close connection to the property. We do own several properties in Cong that we have been restored to a high standard, and look forward to continuing this activity with Cemetery Lodge, making it our personal home for many years to come. I know the property has already had a sale fall through, and due to the amount of work that is required on the property, we feel a mortgage would have been hard to achieve, which is why we have freed up capital to ensure we have the funds in place to purchase the property and fully restore it to the high standard. We will not need a survey on the property prior to purchase. We've had a builder already going, and he's carried out a report for us, and we're fully aware of the scale of restoration the project will be needed to undertake. We also have a solicitor in place and will be looking to complete hopefully within 6 weeks. We just thought by attending this meeting But we're demonstrating our commitment to buying the house and hope you take our offer into serious consideration. And that's it.
Thank you,
Okay.
Michael. As a local government organisation, we are bound by various rules, you know, the legalities around things, protocols and procedures. So I'm going to turn to Howard Culshaw on my right, who's the council solicitor.
Yep.
Well, he's not the only one, but you get my drift. And probably Damon Lawrenson on the other side, who is our financial regulations
Okay.
person. So
Yeah.
thank you very much for your comments today.
Okay.
I'm going to turn to Howard and then Damon. If you want to
We'll have a say.
take your seat back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Howard.
Yeah, Chair. Well, there's not particularly anything that I need to particularly say here. Clearly, the intentions there from the gentleman as the purchaser. The 6-week period, it sounds on the face of it that would be doable without promising the exactness of that, but it's always subject to contract, of course, as lawyers will say. Yeah, nothing to add.
Okay. I think the question is, I understand that there has been a higher offer.
Or what than this one?
The recommendation that members accept the highest offer of 215,000.
Right. Sorry, so that wasn't the 215,000, was it? No.
No.
Oh, right. Oh, that's- right. Okay. Sorry. Well.
Sorry.
Well.
All right, yeah, that's something.
I did say
Our
I'm-
offer was 211,000.
211.
Right.
That correct? That yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how as I understand it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, the legal duty is to accept the highest offer that we can achieve, and that is our legal duty. So
Okay.
that's all I can say on that. Sorry,
Right.
I haven't twigged that.
Okay. Thanks, Howard. Damon.
Yeah, I mean, the process is quite clear and the financial due diligence will have been done. It is a process, it's transparent, everyone enters into a process knowing what the outcome is, that the executive will, a recommendation will come to executive, which you've got in front of you, and regardless of any, if you like, representation, it's quite clear what that recommendation is, and that's the recommendation to the executive.
Okay. So the recommendation that is before us is that members accept that the highest offer of 215 for the property, and that in the event of the sale not proceeding, that the director of place, a guy that isn't here, be authorised to accept any other offers which are submitted at or above the asking price of £200,000. So that's a recommendation in front of us, and I think we need to bear that in mind. I'll bring Councillor Iqbal in.
Thanks, Chair. Can I just clarify first, this 215,000, do we know whether that's a cash offer or is that subject to a mortgage?
Subject to the mortgage.
Thanks,
Sorry,
Michael.
If I can reply,
David.
Councillor Iqbal, that type of information hasn't been introduced into the report.
It has
And
actually.
should be.
Neil just pointed out,
Is
it's
it in
on,
the back?
it's on the second
What I'm
page.
saying is, there is a recommendation regardless of how that's financed. It wouldn't matter, and you wouldn't be influenced if you hadn't had representation tonight about whether it's cash or a mortgage. You make it, a recommendation has been made to you that you accept the highest offer, and that's the decision that's in front of you.
So in terms of the highest offer, I mean, the report does say that it's subject to a mortgage.
Yeah.
The only worry I've got is that if that mortgage falls through or doesn't proceed, then we're back to square one again, aren't we? We've been here before reading the report.
Well, my understanding is that if the recommendation is approved and passed by committee, that there is a delegated authority to accept another offer which may not achieve the 215,000.
But Chairman, I mean, I'm not sure of this gentleman's circumstances, but you know, if the 215 is the highest offer, which obviously it is, but if that doesn't proceed and we then go back to this gentleman, he says I'm not prepared to pay 211, ultimately the council could be losing out at some point, couldn't they?
I understand where you're coming from.
I mean, it's obviously a grand building and has been left empty for a while now, and will continue to be left empty unless something's done to it, and in which case the value will depreciate, in my opinion. I mean, I'm no expert on properties, but if the case is that if we're not sure whether the mortgage is in place in principle for the other offer, and I don't think anybody is sat around the table, if that's subject to a mortgage and they go out and apply for a mortgage and that mortgage comes back and says, well, actually, you need to do X, Y, and Z, and clearly the work needs doing on the property, then is the council at a loss, is the point I'm trying to make.
I understand where you're coming from, but I think we're in a bind in terms of our legal obligations, fiduciary interests and all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, I think there is scope within the resolution if that higher offer of 215,000 isn't achieved to for the 211,000 offer, and I'm not even going to go into the realms of a higher offer being submitted, which would gazump the 215,000. And I think Iqbal, you'll recall.
I do.
Yeah, we've been there before where, so.
I mean, as long as there's
Yeah.
scope then for officers to go back,
There is.
if the mortgage falls through, back to this gentleman's cash offer, then I'm happy to move the recommendation.
Okay. Can I ask if that's seconded?
Second, the Chair.
Yeah, thank you for it. So it moved and seconded, and that would not accept your 211,000 offer, but leave it with the 215,000 offer. I'm not going to ask for these gentlemen's opinion as to what would happen if somebody came in with a 216,000 offer or a 215,500 offer, but I think that's how we'll have to leave it for now. Yeah? Okay. Right, so those in favour please show. Thank you very much. Michael, and your good lady, I hope you understand where we're at.
Oh, yes.
And no doubt this might be this might be enlivening the agendas of our executive committee for some time if we're not careful, but hopefully we can get it resolved and as has been said, get the property renovated and occupied as soon as ever possible. Okay, thank you. As I say, if you want to stop for the rest of the meeting, you're very welcome, but if you want to, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, item 4 is the local development scheme update, and I'll bring Councillor Tomwick in and Mr Watson to deal with any questions that there may be.
Thank you, Chair. I'll move that we'll update the LDS as set out in the schedule on page 2.
Second that.
Yeah.
Seconded.
Yeah.
Any further comment? Those in favour please show. Thank you very much. And the NPPF, this is National Planning Policy Framework, and it's well, the title of the committee item is called Strengthening Planning Policy for Brownfield Development, which I think is a bit of a misnomer, but Councillor Whip.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think Neil puts it very well in the report. As he puts it, does not assist councils prepare their local plans, nor understand the policy direction government is taking. It says the overall change is aimed at promoting a brownfield first delivery without actually saying that in the policy, and that these proposed changes are not likely to be effective, and have had very little impact on Pendle, if any at all. Yes, I mean, I would move that we approve the comments made by Neil. For those watching at home, it's along the lines of the delivery on brownfield land reduced when the brownfield first policy was abolished, and it took away the policy arsenal planning authorities had, and that the MPPF already requires substantial weight to be given to brownfield site delivery, so policy change is not a significant one, the one that they're proposing. Yeah, and that the it assumes local authorities are inflexible and do not look at brownfield site delivery in a flexible way, and I think that's not the case at all. That we do look at brownfield sites in a flexible way. We're always looking to get them developed as easily as possible. You know, we reduce the requirements for improvements elsewhere in section agreements, etc. So yeah, I think the comments are very appropriate and move that we do that, Chair.
Okay, so it's moved. Is it seconded?
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Any further comments? Can we vote on it? Those in favour? Thank you very much. That's carried.
Chair, I mean, just,
Neil,
so
sorry.
Not on the report, but there are more government changes proposed. There's another consultation that's come out now on performance and standards, etc. Chair, I'll have to run it through the portfolio holder because there won't be an executive in time, but it's worth a read because it will change some of the emphasis, and I'll circulate that round to the executive as well once Councillor Tom has agreed it.
Okay. I don't think we can delegate any authority at this meeting because we haven't got the necessary, but I'm sure we can deal with it outside the executive itself. Okay, can we move on then? This is the next item, which is again in Councillor Tom Whip's portfolio, and it's the Environment Act 2021 and the biodiversity objective. And we've got a report, covering report, and then the little document with a coloured front and back. Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, so basically the new Act requires that local authorities must now consider what action can properly be taken to further the conservation and enhancement of biodiversity. So this document we've got, the Biodiversity Duty report here, it sets out a timetable of actions that our council will do to meet that new Act. Chairman, I have a suggestion for an amendment on, I don't have page number, 8. It mentions parks there, and obviously this council has had a long-standing policy of transferring parks to town councils, and I think this document does need to reflect that and have engagement with the town councils and the development plans for the parks to be an integral part of what this council does in meeting the biodiversity net gain, etc. Okay,
so it's a new box set against parks, saying work with town and parish councils in respect of community asset transferred land. Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Just one point from me, and it's only a typo. In the bottom box on the first page of the schedule, there's a sentence that says ecological assessments are already being carried out on the council's principal and holdings, and it should be land holdings. Yeah. And then my only substantive comment is there's a box which talks about appointing the Greater Manchester Ecology Unit to offer specialist advice on applications where biodiversity is a significant issue. We had a training session last night, and one of the points that was discussed at that was the shortage of ecologists and the fact that this could be a major stumbling block in delivering any of this as a council. And as far as applicants are concerned, we're going to come on to that in the next item, their ability to actually bring proposals forward. Iqbal.
Yeah, can I just ask a question in terms of Lancashire 2050 to Rose? I mean, the action talks about shared strategic and shared everything shared with the Lancashire 2050, but in light of the county pushing ahead with the devolution thing, how shared is shared now?
Through you, Chair, there isn't a lot of work going on Lancashire 2050 at the minute in light of the developments that you've just mentioned, Councillor Iqbal.
So do
But
we
it's
not need to
still-
put something in there that reflects that? Because April 2025 is not that far off, is it?
Yeah, I think we might need to just do a little bit of an adjustment on the wording there to reflect, but it's
I'll work with Rose on that, Chairman, if that's okay.
the framework exists, but there's not a lot of work going on the strategy.
Okay, so we just need to put a caveat in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you willing to accept that, Tom?
I am,
Yeah. All right. Any further comments, Damon? Are you?
Chair,
Jumping
can I
at the
just
bit here.
make reference to the implications of the action plan? It's noted in the on page 2 that the actual individual costing of that plan hasn't been undertaken yet, so we don't know the full cost of the implementation yet, and that'll take time as component parts are reviewed. So I just don't want you to lose sight as an executive of the fact that there could be significant costings arising, and they'll be reported in due course.
We appreciate that an industry is being created as we speak, and no doubt the shortage of ecologists will drive up the cost of ecologists, and the whole thing will become a bit of a nightmare, and then subject to whichever government's in power, they'll backtrack in order to allow the Friends. Anyway, I won't go any further down that route, but yeah, thank you, Chairman. Right, are we content then to adopt as set out as amended? Yeah, thank you very much. Item 7 then is validation requirements for planning applications, and the Appendix B, which is shown to follow, I don't have, I'm afraid, unless it didn't follow. It actually came. Now I've got Appendix A and I've got Appendix B.
Neil's got a copy for you.
So Appendix B, it's a revision of the guide we've already done, and I've got to say I'm just completing it because we're still working on new regulations that are coming out, but it is there's no graphics to it yet, Chairman, but I have completed. I just have to prove it.
Okay, well, just in respect of that guidance, I mean, I'm not sure it necessarily needs our approval, so I think we just know that that is still in formulation. Councillor Tomwitt.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I move that we follow the recommendations. I don't think there's anything to amend here.
Second, the Chair.
Okay. My comment would be, I was contacted by the Yorkshire Wildlife Trust in respect of an application that they were attempting to put in for a natural flood management scheme in Kelbrook, and after a little bit of toing and froing, they did eventually manage to put that application in, and that is the subject of consideration. I don't want to speak about that particular application as such, but it was just that the process was very difficult, and the scheme that they were applying for will improve biodiversity by introduction of swales and trees and vegetation, etc. But on the face of it, the 6 hectare site was taking it into stratospheric realms, both in terms of the requirements to provide this, that and the other, and also the planning fees that were demanded as well. And it was completely out of proportion to the actual scrapes that we're going to make and the ponds that we're going to make. So just generalising that, I have a concern that the pre-application the requirements for planning applications to be validated will be very onerous unless there is some get out of jail cards that applicants in various categories can actually play. And I wonder, Neil, could you just reflect on that for me, please?
Chairman, there will always be difficulties on occasion when things are thrown up that are not planned, and one of the issues with that application you're talking about was it went through the planning portal. The planning portal calculates a fee automatically depending on what you put in. It also doesn't allow you to put two red edges in on the same site, so there was a bit of the planning portal, Chairman, within that. Hopefully when I spoke to the Wildlife Trust, they got the answers they wanted, and we took it forward there. But I've got another issue with the planning portal, for example, that we require maps for larger homes extensions, and they won't allow those to be accepted now. So there will be glitches within the process which are out of our control. But we speak to the planning portal because 90% of applications come through those now, through that, and try and resolve it. So I don't think that these changes here will affect that, but there are, on the odd occasions, difficulties.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments? No?
Chair.
Martin.
Thank you. Can I just ask Mr Watson one question? So work has already started on looking at potential for biodiversity gains on council-owned sites. Could you give us perhaps a little bit of insight into the scope of potential improvements that we have there?
Okay, I think that question would be best suited on the last item on the agenda because we're on validation of planning applications now. There is work going on to identify which council sites could benefit from gain, and I'll bring Councillor Tom Whip in. But I think the point we were making earlier on about those areas that have been transferred to parish and town councils also come into play as well.
Thanks, Chair. I think the answer at the moment is the action plan is to scope out the scope of what we can do, because we need that knowledge and expertise from ecologists to be able to identify what we can improve, what is available for improvement, etc. We're just not at that place at the moment.
Neil?
Yes, Chairman. We through some government funding, we explored 4 sites, one of which was actually a Colne Town Council owned site with their agreements, because parks aren't generally good places to improve B&G because of the use, etc. So we looked at places like Gibb Hill. I'm happy to share the results. The results have been shared. So, and that explores the potential of how many new they're called B&G units can be created on site. What is the uplift? The issue now is twofold. What are the costs, as Damon said earlier? How much will it cost us? I have no idea. Is it going to be Gibb Hill? 100,000, £1 million? I don't know how much it will be. So that's the next stage we've got to look at, as well as how we fund it, and partly if developers come forward, will they want to buy units from the council? That generally means that you would have a large portfolio of sites coming forward. We probably don't have that level coming forward, and the one application we've had since B&G came in, they're providing it all on site, so there will be risks perhaps to the council if they wanted to invest in that, trying to recoup some of the money like other councils. So, I've not got answers to it. There's some more exploration we need to do. We need to get some costings. We're hopeful that we'll get some more government funding next year, although the amount's not been announced yet, and it will be, as was in the previous item, there's a commitment now within that action plan to look at those. So we'll put some plans together about how we actually cost out those and the risks that may or may not be involved.
Thank you. Is that okay,
Yeah,
Martin?
that's fine. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. Okay, coming back to the validation requirements, are we content with those?
Yeah.
Moved and seconded, thank you very much. Everybody in favour? Yep. Item 8, this is a old chestnut, land at Bankhouse Road, which we were hoping to be able to develop for an extra care scheme. The report sets out that that's not viable, and doesn't stack up at all, and the report is seeking approval to take this forward as a general needs affordable housing scheme. Iqbal.
Can you just define what's a general needs affordable housing scheme?
It's basically a general housing development which will have an affordable housing component within there as well. So it's not specifically for example, disabilities or what have you. So it's essentially open to the market, depending on the partners, in this case, Together Housing, and whatever their criteria is to satisfy housing which will allow for sort of housing which is adaptable and also which is basically up to lifetime home standards as well. So enabling that to be put on that site instead of a specific extra care scheme. Okay. So they have a criteria, that, sorry, through the chair,
Yeah.
they have a criteria that meets with that sort of rather larger housing needs within the area.
And the tenure would be freehold, or would it be a mixed tenure with tenanted?
It'll be a mixed tenure. So depending on what the requirements, what the local community wants in terms of a staycation scheme or a part ownership and part rent or a fully purchased property. So they will have their own mixed tenure offer to the community.
Okay.
Is it possible to share that criteria? Because I think the most important thing is, and I know affordable housing schemes sound nice on paper, when it comes to the crunch, a lot of developers, and I'm not saying Together Housing are part of that, always then shy away and say, well, there's not enough money in it for us, and there's very, very little percentage that is affordable. So it'd be interesting what the criteria is, and more importantly, what they feel the local community needs are, because clearly the care scheme is now dead in the water. We need to move on that site, I think, because we've been at it, about a decade now.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm happy to move the recommendations as I set out, Chair.
Okay. So that's moved and seconded. Yeah. I think we just have a caveat on the that we want to have a sight of how the affordability would be expressed. Is that yeah? We content with that? Lovely. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. It's only because Ajad isn't here that's actually got through. Because it's Asjad that has been pursuing the extra care, and no matter what the financial situation was, Asjad could not be persuaded that.
Well, he's in Saudi Arabia.
I know.
Chair. Maybe you can
I know.
know something that you don't.
There you go. Right, item 9 then is Pendle Holiday Activities and Food Programme, and on this one there's a recommendation that seeks to delegate authority to that Director of Resources in consultation with the Leader of the Council. I would just point out that all such delegations are in consultation with the Leader and Deputy Leader, so I think I would add that into the recommendation.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a wrinkle on page 4 where the second bullet point in paragraph 20 says that Lancashire County Council has top sliced 7% of all the district allocations for the Lancashire County Council targeted youth service to deliver the 12 to 16 element of this programme. I think we just need to be cited on what exactly that's going to provide, and I think we need some more information on that. I'm a little bit concerned that we won't have as effective a scheme as we might have done, and that the county council are taking the opportunity to perhaps backfill a bit of their existing work, but I stand to be corrected. So I would add into the recommendation that we just seek clarification on how that will be delivered and what the benefit will be, and you know, how many participants, and etc, etc, etc. Yeah.
Happy to second that.
Thank you very much. Okay. Anything further on that? No. We're all hunky-dory. Thank you. Item 10 we've already dealt with. Item 11, land off Cotton Tree Lane, Trawden, and could I just check if is this the bit of land, or is there an adjacent bit of land where we've got a problem with the stability of the land being in question? I might be on the wrong bit of the... You think it's further up?
I don't think it's this one.
Right, okay. Well, I can say that nobody here knows. Neil?
I'm not aware. I know there's stability of a banking and a footpath, but I'm not aware of any stability of
Right.
land here.
This
No,
is a separate thing.
That's fine, that's fine. Okay,
Recommendation.
yep, thank you very much. Move,
Yeah.
seconded, Dot?
Yep,
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. Those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. And perhaps one of the more substantial items on the agenda, item 12, and it says long-term plan for towns, Nelson. So it's a 2-page report. Rose.
Thank you, Chair. This is really just dealing with a delegation. It's giving you a bit of an update of where we've got to. It was obviously extremely good news that we got the funding in the autumn for Nelson, 20 million over 10 years, endowment style funding. We're now in the process of putting a commission together to go out to the market to help us with the investment plan that has to be developed by the 1st of August. And the other thing that we need to do is pull together a board. Some of the early guidance made it sound like Nelson Town Field Board could be this board. Subsequent guidance and conversations with the unit and the government have suggested actually that we're looking at something substantially different. We're still waiting for a bit more guidance on that, but what is clear is there's an expectation that that board will be chaired by someone local, either a local business or a local community organisation or body of some sort. And that while there'll be elected members on it, there'll be a lot of people on it as well as elected members who represent the community and businesses. The other thing that's come out from conversations with Adam Hawksby, who heads the unit within government, is that we're looking at something that's got a really strong community development emphasis, so very much about people, a good complement to some of the work that we've done, but ultimately quite different, a lot longer term in nature. So there is guidance expected in the next few days. I thought we might have had it here by today. So the report really deals with the delegation. I'm guessing you would want it to be in consultation with the deputy leader as well as the leader.
It's in the shared agreement,
Yes.
the administration, that
Yeah.
it's leader and deputy. Yeah.
So just picking up on the 15-member board roles, I know time is of the essence here and the plan is submitted by the 1st of August. I'm just a bit uneasy how we're going to achieve that 15-person board, because, for example, Bradley Big Local, that's been in place now 7 years, had to be 51% resident-led, and I've attended on behalf of the council regularly, and it's very, very difficult to get continuous resident involvement in something like that. And I suspect with £20 million sounds a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money. People will come forward with different agendas, and it's how we identify that it's majority community-based led.
We are working on, we've had some support from local partnerships on terms of reference for the board. to help us map out what the sort of skills are that we'd want on the board. It would be people representing organisations in the community as opposed to individuals from the community itself. So that's largely what we're looking at. It is a tall order. There is a lot to do. I'll bring Damien in as well at this point, because Damien's been looking at the programme management for this and also risk in terms of this and the other programme. I'll let you pick this point up.
So we've convened an officer group that will deal with the procurement of support to deal with the investment plan. It is a tight schedule. It needs to be signed off by members, by the board, and that period will run from April through to July. So we really are against the clock on that, but that procurement is underway. We're looking at the work strands that would sit under this type of programme, whether it's transport, whether it's community engagement, whether it's the police and health and well-being, and just the community feel of what the outcomes are not to be specified obviously, but are likely to be, means that the emphasis on engagement from stakeholders is going to be completely different to the town deal, where the town deal is focused on obviously the building and the shopping mall and everything else, as we all know. So the outcomes are going to be different. It's going to be a longer period of time. So there's going to be some of these programmes will take years to materialise. The reason it's an endowment business model, you know, over that 7 to 10 years, is because it will take time to get that community engagement and that real cultural change out there. So not to distract and distract from the existing town deal board. This will be a separate entity with a completely different focus, and that's why when we've looked at, if you like, the short list of who could be on that board and who we would need to approach, they do have different backgrounds and different influencing that you would expect, given what guidance we've had and the outcomes that we think we'll need to specify in the investment programme. So we've got the programme management set up and arranged, and we'll manage that, but over the next few months it'll be quite a challenge.
So can I just ask, following on from that, I mean, clearly officers have got a working group set up, but that's good. But where's the political involvement from, for example, the leader and the deputy leader? Because what I wouldn't want as an elected member is the officer group to bring something to, I don't know, the May or June executive and say, there you go, there's a fait accompli, take it or leave it. I'm just thinking there needs to be some political involvement at that group, whether it's from the leader and the deputy.
Yeah, if I can come in, we met Adam Hawksby, various councillors and community individuals, representatives, organisations, met Adam Hawksby and his team, and one of the things that he said, and is in the guidance that we've had, is that there should be no more than 2 councillors. So the example was, well, you could have a district councillor and a county councillor. Well, what about a town councillor? And the point that I've made previously is that elected representatives are exactly that. They are elected representatives of those communities, and I think they should have a preeminent role, because how do you select an organisation or an individual? You know, what legitimacy do those people have when you've got, perhaps 10 organisations in an area, and you select 3 of them and 7 of them are excluded? I think it's a minefield, and I don't think there is any realisation at the heart of this process of how you need to involve people, engage people, and the best way of doing that is through the democratic process. But we are where we are. In terms of the generality of this, Adam Hawksby was bullish about the impact that £2 million a year is going to have on a place like Nelson, and okay, he's been paid to do this, but frankly, if you look at say, let's pick housing, where 2 billion would be more of the mark to actually make any sustained impact. And if you want to really benefit communities, then improving housing conditions is where you'd start, because it's the root of a lot of ills, literally the root of a lot of ills. And yet, going back 14 years, housing market renewal was rug pulled under it, and we've just been discussing a plot of land that was cleared as part of that housing market renewal programme, and after a decade and more, we're still not any further forward with it. So don't get me going, but I think this is a spit in the ocean and doesn't in any shape or form change the fundamental problems that we've got. And the most fundamental issue that we do have is that as a council we're not able to provide the services that are required, not only for Nelson but for the whole of the borough, because we're starved of funding. You go out of here, and I said to Adam Hawksby, I said, go out to this building and look at any back street within a minute's walk, and they are in awful condition. Rubbish strewn, littered, fly tipped, used as dumping grounds. And as a council, are we able to address those issues? Well, unfortunately not. Give us the fair funding to deal with all those sorts of problems, and we can help to lift all the areas of Pendle, not just a discrete ring-fenced area. But £2 million a year, 15 million over the total will be capital, 5 million revenue. Well, divide 5 by 10, you get £500,000 a year.
Yeah, well, to the average
Sorry,
person, the average person in the street,
sounds like big money.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. The average person in the street, as soon as you mention the word 20 million, they think it can do super duper things. But I think in terms of the focus, it's talking about safety and security, high streets, heritage and regeneration, transport and connectivity. It's not addressing the fundamental issues that are affecting not just Nelson but other parts of this borough in terms of health, education, housing. And I think that's where the focus needs shifting, and if that needs to be fed back to whoever the big wigs are down south, that needs to be fed back to them. Because there's no point doing safety and security and doing heritage and regeneration if people aren't living long enough to see it.
Right, I've got Damon and then I've got Councillor Stone.
Chair, through you, in response, we are trying our best to get the guidance out of central government, and we are chasing, and we seem to not be getting much coming back apart from the guidance that we've had, and we've got to act on that. So the officer group wants to mobilise through that delegation to get arrangements in place so we can make progress, so that when the board's formed, April, May, June, that actually we've engaged the board through in process, because the investment plan needs to be signed off by August. That has had an engaging board. So getting that board is the first thing, but we need to crack on, if you like, with the work behind the scenes. We're against the clock.
Thanks, Chair. And I think this is a real opportunity for us. I know 20 million is a drop in the ocean with some of the issues that we've been talking about. But what it'll do is, it's a way of bringing all the partners that we need together to the table to really look at some of these issues long term and try to turn around the fortunes of people in terms of health, skills, all of those social issues that we're so aware of. And that's why it is a good thing that we can actually bring those people together.
Well, with respect, Ross, sorry to interrupt, we've been here with other projects like SRBs of various guises.
Yeah, I know you have, through you, Chair, I know you have. But this is where we really need to work very closely with partners like the college, because young people are really key to this. So it's a really big partnership working opportunity for us, and I think we've got a real opportunity to get some fresh impetus into this.
Yes, Rose, I subscribe to Iqbal's view, and I've been around the block a few times, and quite frankly, I've seen the wheel reinvented multiple times, and I do despair just a trifle. I'm going to bring Councillor Stone in, and I've got a Neve.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, I think the money is of course welcome, but notwithstanding that, I echo the concerns of Councillor Whip and Councillor Iqbal. And my question to Damon is around this democratic structure and the suggestion that the guidance says you should have, one county and one borough council and the rest some representatives from business and community group. And as Councillor Whip said, well, who selects the representatives? How representative are they? So my question for you really is this guidance. We're not bound to follow some guidance, are we? I just wanted to be clear. What latitude do we have to select a structure of our choosing?
Damon,
It's a big question.
if you're going to test the diplomacy now.
The challenge you have with any guidance is, before you know it, your funding criteria is judged against how compliant you are against that guidance. My experience today is that's what happens. Guidance comes out, it'd be good if you did this, this and this, and then before you know it, it's wrapped up into fundamental funding guidance criteria. Can you demonstrate that you've done X, Y, Z? That's my experience today on most funding streams. So what we've been working with the town's unit in central government is trying to get clarity. That's why we invited him up to speak to us. In the budget last week, they announced a number of new town deals that were up and down the country. There's 55 now in operation. We're going to learn from that network in terms of what will be best practice. But the guidance is such that we need to comply, because I know what the eventuality will be, that our funding will be linked to how compliant we are in terms of how you set up, how you governed, how you report, and everything else that wraps around a £20 million project.
Martin, I appreciate that is not reassuring, but I think it's an honest answer.
Well, I understand the answer obviously, and it's not reassuring, but surely they don't retrospectively mandate what was previously guidance. So if we set up a structure at time A where you have guidance is not regulation, they're not going to retrospectively take funding away on the basis that you didn't comply with some regulation that didn't exist at the time, are they?
I think they will micromanage, despite the fact that Adam Hawkesby was adamant that they wouldn't. The reality is, and we've seen this with all previous programmes, that there will be an element of micromanagement. If we haven't ticked all the boxes, dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, then there'll be whole black, and I don't know whether there would be clawback, but certainly the pot will not be replenished or not filled in the first place. So I think we do need to be compliant. My concern is that compliance shouldn't come at the cost of having genuine community buy-in and involvement with whatever happens. And then just a final perspective from someone who represents an area out with Nelson, and Eve is another person, out with to some extent, then there's the eyes of the rest of Pendle are on Nelson, and there is an element for division within that, which I don't think is really helpful, but I've made those comments previously. Hanif, can I bring you in, please?
Thank you, Chair. I don't know, obviously, repeat everything you've said, so I'm just going to focus on the 15 board members. The question is, who identifies them? And who has assayed them, and who's finalising those? I'm suggesting that we as members do that. Okay, because I think if you look at the Nelson Town deal, to be honest, people like me can, rip it apart. It's been there for a long time. What has it achieved? You talk to officers and you get a lot of information. In reality, you talk to the public, it's very different. So if you're going to get whatever money we have, £2 million a year, whatever that is, we want people who's going to be actually involved, interested. They work for the community. They're not working for the organizations. They're not working for themselves. So I think, it's really important, and I've said this for the past, ever since this has come on, that, we must have a final say, because, we get these papers, but that's it. We don't get any more information. So regardless of it's 1st of August or whatever, the sooner we do this, the sooner we start moving along. And I think it's so important. That it says the MP will be one of the 15 board members. Okay, so if they're saying 2 or 3 councillors, so who? I mean, I agree with Polly with yourselves that unless they have said you're going to have 2 from here, 4 from here, 5 from these categories. Okay, if they've left that open, then it's up to us to some extent to adjust that. So, Chair, the success of this is on the board members, who they are. Okay, everything else will then obviously take direction from them and the executive here. So it's really important that we identify, and it's not the same people we've had on board for the last 25 years. We need to bring new blood in. We need to start looking at getting some new people in, introducing them into these sort of things, and saying, come on, because we need to look at new leadership as well as existing with experience. We need to start bringing new people in as well. So I think it's important. So I'm saying that the final say, as an executive, I think we need to be involved with this. Okay, so I'm suggesting that's the way we go, because this is important.
Okay, I'll bring Rose in.
Thank you, Chair. The second recommendation deals with the delegation, and the reason we have that there is it's a timing issue, because we're shortly into the pre-election period. And timing-wise, we need to have a board in place. We're on a short order in terms of guidance and having some of those arrangements in place. So that's the reason we've done it this way, because of timing. But it does deal with the fact that the decision will be made in consultation with the leader and deputy leader. So that is what we would suggest goes forward as the recommendation, so that we get round this timing issue. That's all it is.
And my anticipation would be that the leader and deputy leader would canvass the opinion of colleagues in making that decision in between meetings of the executive.
Okay.
Is that okay, Annie?
Yeah, yeah. It's okay to some extent. To be honest, I'm not. We keep saying this, and every time we have funding here, this has happened. We go back. 1991, we had the funding. Then SRV came. Every time we've been here too long, and so as officers. Okay, and we sit on the other side of the room, and they play their game, and we play our game. And it's not about Rose or yourselves. This is all the chief executives, and we've sat on the other side, and it's a gay game. So I'm saying, listen, whatever it is, it's funding for Nelson is welcomed. That's the first thing. Anywhere it's welcome, Barley, Cone, whatever it is. It says, how do we implement it? And I think in the past we made many mistakes. We've got to hold our hands up and say, Pendo, we made a mistake. Sometimes that's the problem. We sometimes don't say that enough. I can give you an example of Byfield. We've had 20 consultations over the last 30 years. I tell you, I could have on day one told them what's needed. They spend millions of pounds in Byfield. But it's the same thing, and the same in Barlick, same in Cone, same in Nelson, same everywhere else. And we just don't want to be repeating it. So my chair issue is that's fine, but we need to have the right people. We don't have friends on the boards. Okay. We need to have the right people. We need to make sure it's things like this.
I think that's fair comment. I don't think the process or the structure that's been dictated to us lends itself to that happy relationship, but we'll seek to achieve it. Tom.
Thanks, Chair. I read a book recently. It's called Humankind: A Hopeful History, and I promise it's relevant.
He's given it to me to read.
I have. It talks about a mayor who was elected in the city of Torres, Venezuela, in 2004. Julio Chávez. The first thing he did as mayor was he devolved the entirety of his mayoral budget to the citizens of the city, and it popularised the idea of co-decision, I think it's called, and citizens had a more direct democracy in how that money was spent in the places that they lived. And I think this scheme of delegation, you know, the deal board, is kind of the UK government's implementation of that in the bureaucratic way that it does. In, you know, you need to have so many members on a board and they need to meet so many times a year, etc. But I mean, I'm hopeful that it will work. And I think, you know, the more people can get on board with something, the better. And we just need to give up a bit of control, like Pulio did.
Well, I mean, we could just draw 15 people by lot from the electoral register for the township of Nelson. And those 15 people could change on an annual basis. And, you know, we could, sort of, I think Levellers had that concept, wasn't it, annual elections. But, you know, that would be equally as valid as, you know, saying fingering an organisation, well, we'll have a representative from this and a representative from that. You've blown the 8 o'clock deadline anyway.
Until then, we'll leave it in the capable hands of yourself, Aschad and Rose.
Thank you very much. And we'll take Tom's advice, and I'll read the book and then I'll pass it on to Rose, who'll pass it on to Damon, and we will have this egalitarian structure, which the MP will say, oh, we're not having any of that. Right, can we come to a decision on this? So the recommendation is to note the arrangements as far as we know them, and then delegate authority to the Chief Executive in consultation with Aschad and myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, all agreed on that. Thank you very much. The final item, item 13, on the agenda at 2 minutes past 8, is the forward plan. Any comments?
It's going to be a busy exec, that, isn't it, on the 27th of May, by the looks of it.
Pardon?
I said the 27th of May looks like a busy exec. Everything's got a deadline of that.
Well, I have suggested that we don't normally have meetings on a school holiday week. The 27th of May will be the spring bank holiday. So my response to Jane, when she circulated that, was we should avoid the school holiday week. I mean, that date is to be determined by the annual meeting of the council, but I would leave planning for the 20th. 23rd, is it? Sorry, I've put my hand up, but whichever date it is. Okay, right. Are we okay with that? Can we take a vote? Yeah. We're all in favour. Thank you very much. Can I thank you for your attendance. Wish you a safe journey home. Declare the meeting closed.